Sunday night, be thumbing. Got these babies with an onion and she got her own money. She say money keep her coming, but I
great and powerful Matt Chalmers. How are you, big dog?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
You know, we've been friends for what, 10 years now,
Something
maybe?
like that.
Something like that. What grade do you think it will? So Asher's in the 7th grade, so at least 7 years, at least 8 count kindergarten, I would imagine. So known each other for a long time. And honestly, when we first met, I'm very skeptical on doctors. You know that now.
Yes.
Not a fan. I've always been like, every time I go to the doctor for anything prior to getting to know you, and I've got a couple others I trust now, but just getting to know you is like, they're kind of bullshit. It's like, I always said as a sales guy, like, doctors are the greatest salespeople because they're like, oh no, you could die. Like, fuck, what kind of an objection handling fucking master class is this, right? And so I always felt like they were just selling me some shit. I'm like, you just came in here and wrote a bunch of pills. Like, I don't know if I want to do all that, And especially when I was young, I guess my first, just now thinking out loud, my first impression of doctors was put them on ADHD medicine, and I didn't like the way that shit felt. So that was probably where my skepticism started. But you are a multi-generational naturopathic doctor, and you look to solve problems. In my opinion of you, you've looked to solve a problem as opposed to create a recurring revenue stream.
Yeah.
That's
whole,
rare.
Yeah. Well, it's my whole philosophy is it's more of a passion than it is a profession, I guess you could say. My whole thing is the power that made the body heals the body. And what I'm trying to do is kind of teach people if we can go back to get away from man's mess ups of other things we've done and go back to God's original design and like, what does the body need? It needs specific chemicals. We call them nutrients to get better. And if we take the toxins out, that's how we get better. And so if we go back to the physiology, what's the biochemistry tell us? If we go back to that, we can get people healthy from a lot of things, diabetes and dementia and ulcerative colitis and all sorts of stuff. So that's kind of where a lot of my stuff has been is, let's go back to original design and figure out how we were put together. And that's the path back to health.
It's funny you said it that way. I had a trip one time where I went and did like ayahuasca in the mountains, right? And I'm not a big drug guy because I'm a control freak. It's hard for me to just let go and like let things do. It's like I got to be, or alone, and you're not alone when you do that either. So it's like a way out of my comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
But like, man, maybe the first seemingly hour or so of the actual trip kicking in, I felt like I was in the cosmos, okay? Mm-hmm. And when I was in outer space, I'm having, I see all these like maybe historical beings that exist there and stuff. But at some point, I wind up talking to this thing I call the goat god. And it was God, but it was like everything from grass to humans to earth to it was all this thing. It was something I could clearly see in my mental state that I was in. But it was this real being that just consisted of everything. And it told me the weirdest thing at the time. I don't know what the hell it was talking about. Now, this is 2016, I think, okay? So this is almost 10 years ago. And I haven't done it since. But it said, be careful because there is a war on artificial versus organic. It said, actually, the words were natural versus synthetic. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I'm like, huh? And I remember having this conversation. It says we've traded relationships for connections on profiles.
Yeah.
We've traded real food for hormone-induced lab-grown bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure the goat god articulated it better, but this is my small brain here on earth regurgitating it. But I got back to thinking, it's like, wow, we are losing the natural, like God, there's God's, and ultimately what I think now that I'm not in psychosis like that is like, it's God's way versus man's way.
Yes.
And we know in every religious book ever written, man is a fuck up, right?
Yes.
God knows, every religious book starts like this, God is great and knows everything, and then man fucks it up, right? Like every single, but we are fucking it up at a great rate now because we've got help from this, you like in my lifetime prior to, let's say 2015, I may have burned 5 bridges with relationships in my entire life. And that's in and out of prison, a divorce. Hell, I'm cordial with ex-wives if I had to be, I don't hang out with them or talk to them, but if I had to be, there's no animosity there. I wasn't a bridge man on social media. I had pissed off thousands of fucking people, if not millions. You know what I mean? And that's a lot to compete with organically versus, you know, the rate there. And we end up spending, you know, we'll be on the couch as a family. And I've changed some things lately, but we'll be on a couch with family and everybody's looking at a screen or a phone or an iPad or whatever. It's like there's no organic. And now that we have artificial intelligence, we are losing that battle. Like, dude, it's like watching the fucking Cowboys play the Patriots in their prime. Like, we're just getting fucking beat. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's scary because, you know, they talk about, you know, and we hear the smart guys say, oh, you know, these robots with Tesla are going to take over and artificial intelligence is going to take over. And people think their jobs and stuff. But what I think is their food. Like, I'm not worried about it taking my job, right? Okay, cool. They'll figure something out because they're going to need us. We're useless idiots. We're useful idiots anyway. So they'll need us for something. However, you know, my food, what if the artificial thing starts making, you know, food that gets us sick? We're already eating artificial food all the damn time, you know. RFK's got 3 things removed since he's been in office, which is great. You know what I mean? That's 3 more things than anybody else fucking ever did. But it's funny because they're like, oh, yeah, maybe we should use natural cane sugar as opposed to artificial sweetener. But that's like in everything. It's crazy.
Everything.
And you probably know this and heard this, but you can explain because I have no fucking idea what it is. But part of the thing that RFK was trying to get out was like glyphosate or something like that.
Yeah.
And then these fuckers voted to put it back in. Like a bunch of lawyers in Congress were like, nah, fuck the doctor, put it back in.
Oh, that's not all. What they just came out and did was they said, anything we know of or don't know of that can be harmful to human beings from any chemical that's being used, they now have carte blanche immunity to. You cannot sue a pharmaceutical company or a chemical manufacturer for our food for any damage to anyone for any reason.
Like,
just passed that
if
law.
Chicken gets E. coli or broccoli gets E. coli like it's done, then they can sue, you know, Jolly Green Giant or whatever, but not anymore.
Not anymore. Well, so like if we find
most of our food is not natural, by the way. It's GMOs from fucking Monsanto, who's now Bayer or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So a pharmacy company.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, but like, if we find out tomorrow, because we already know that glyphosate's wildly toxic, it's why it's banned in almost every other country.
What is it?
So glyphosate it's Roundup, basically.
Oh.
And so what
that shit killed my plants in 2 days. I was there 2 days ago, sprayed it 2 days later, they're all dead.
Oh yeah, and it'll kill you too.
Yeah.
Like that. This is one of the big reasons why we have celiac, we have ulcerative colitis and things like that, and IBS, because people come in, they're like, I'm allergic to wheat. And then they go to Italy where glyphosate's banned and they eat bread and pasta all day long. And they come back and they're like, I lost weight and I felt amazing. Yeah, because their stuff is chemically different. Their bread is chemically different than ours. And they don't have the toxins on theirs that you know, we have on ours. Like I've pulled blood on probably.
You mean it's real versus synthetic?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
There's
less
keep
man.
Topic here.
Yeah. Less man, more God, and it's healthier for you. I pulled blood on probably 120-year-old men, and every one of them, I haven't found anybody who has testosterone over 300.
That's not good.
It should be 1,000. Yeah. So you know we are poisoning ourselves without even knowing it.
And if I was a bad guy. And you were kind of saying this before we started rolling here, so I'm just leading you back into it. But if I was a bad guy, I would want a weak, useful idiots. I would want a weak, you know, men traditionally change borders and take over countries and things of that nature. So and it takes testosterone to do that. You can't go into war being exhausted.
Yeah.
You've seen the movie The Longest Yard. Yeah. They switch out his testosterone for estrogen and he's crying, trying to be everybody's friend instead of no, we can't have that, right? So that would be a way to, you know, oh, they might revolt against this, but let's lower their testosterone. They'll wear out before we're fucking done.
Well, so here's the other thing. The easiest way to take out a Western civilization is to take out our women. Because we will, as the men, will do whatever we can to protect the women, and we will. It's so funny when you look at the dynamic. We're being told it's totally different, but we do everything we do to help and please the women around us.
Yeah.
And women are under
by nature,
massive
every
assault.
Animal does, right?
Yeah. We're under our women are under massive assault.
Oh yeah.
Like they don't talk about hormone function with women. They're overstressed, which is also hilarious because one of the things that we don't talk enough about when we talk about healthcare, men or women, is emotional function. Now, we will talk about stress. Like you ask a guy, like, you have any anxiety? The guy goes, no. I'm like, okay, because it's not cool to have emotion. That's right. Yeah. Like, do you have stress? Oh, I got tons of stress. I do have stress. Yeah. Well, it's funny because like, you're like, we have all this literature about how bad stress is for you and stress, but no one defined what stress is. Stress is it's a bundle of emotions. It's fear, guilt, and sadness. So fear for the future is anxiety. So if you're sitting around, you're a sales guy, and you're like, what happens if I don't make this sale? My kids aren't going to eat. That's some anxiety. That's some stress. That's going to be hitting you pretty hard. Okay. That's an emotional thing. These emotions destroy the system. And what's happened is that we're in a society now where everything feeds your fear. Everything fears your anxiety. Like you can't scroll social media.
Amygdalas for sure.
Exactly. You can't scroll social media without seeing World War III is coming. Everybody's dying. Like everybody's cheating on everybody. Like there's nothing but negativity in social media in our environment. And so it's real easy to push people's minds into a negative position where it's spiraling down. And so what we need to start doing as part of a holistic care is be like, no. We're going to bring you over and I'm going to teach you how to spiral your emotions up so that you reach more for joy and you stay away from this negative stuff that's destroying you.
And the negative stuff, again, is the artificial shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's everywhere you look, you know? But you were saying before we got started about where pharmacies, like where that originates from. Tell that story, man. That's fucking interesting.
So this is the real thing that people need to kind of recognize is this is more of a literal biblical spiritual fight than it is anything else. So one of the named demons that's in the revolution of the end times is pharmakeia. Pharmakeia comes back from the idea of sorcery and witchcraft where they would use potions to con men out of their wealth and their health.
Sounds familiar.
Well, the word pharmacy is directly taken from the word pharmakeia. So the pharmacy you're going to is named after the head demon that
takes your health and wealth.
That takes your health and wealth.
Which is exactly what fucking insurance and pharmacy and healthcare and all that shit's doing.
That's where we are. Yeah. We spend the most on healthcare and we have the worst health we've ever had.
So let me ask you a question. And this is the big question that I really want everybody listening to think about this. But is it just playing out this way from the Bible, or are these deranged world leaders following as it's a script or something like that?
I feel like they're following it as a script because, like I mention this all the time and people are like, no, whatever. Just Google all the things I'm saying. You'll find them. Bill Gates did a TED Talk in 2008 where he said the major problem that we're facing right now is overpopulation.
I've seen it.
And his goal was to use vaccines to reduce the population of the planet by 15%.
Yes, I've seen that.
And then we come out with the COVID vaccine, which Bill Gates and his foundation helped develop, and it is unbelievably toxic. Like I think now no one's been like, it's still good. RFK got sued because he tried to take that away from pregnant women and babies. Like, not like they couldn't have it. It's just not mandatory anymore. And he got sued for it. Like, no baby has died.
Blackballed. Joe Rogan was the only person to give him a fucking voice. If he wouldn't have been able to go on the Rogan podcast, and Joe's done that for a few people, obviously, but if RFK wouldn't have gone on, nobody would have known. So
the two people that we need to, from podcast standpoint, that we need to make sure we give a lot of credit to is obviously Joe Rogan, but Del Bigtree. Del Bigtree's been talking about this on the High Wire, has been talking about vaccine damages and how horrible these things are for a long time. So, like, we've known.
I'll have to check him out.
I know a lot of pediatricians who are now functional medicine pediatricians who started looking at the research and they were just like, oh my God, we've been poisoning these kids for the entirety of the time that we've been here.
Yeah.
And that's the saddest thing is when you finally, like, imagine that you get into this thing. And I talk about this all the time, but our medical doctors are some of the greatest people we have. Right, the amount of dedication and sacrifice and all the bullshit they got to put up with to get into med school, get through residency. They're all smart. They're amazing human beings. The problem is that our system, the NIH, the FDA, and the CDC has been lying to these doctors, and these doctors have been taking these lies, thinking they're real, and pushing them on everybody else, telling everybody that masks are beneficial, that cholesterol causes heart attacks, that like all the things that they're saying, like vaccines are totally safe. All these things they've been saying are lies, but you've got to believe the guy who teaches your school, or what are you doing? And so that's the place we're in right now.
If we can't all agree 1 + 1 is 2, because that's a basic mathematical principle. And so we're taught that, but if you learn today that 1 + 1 was 1 or 3 or 5 or something, it would, you know what I mean? No way, you'd argue forever. Even if somebody had a logical explanation of why it was that way, you'd argue forever. Just like, hey, ivermectin is for horses. Remember they were all saying that,
Yeah, won the Nobel Prize in Human Medicine in 2016, but now it's for horses and it's horse paste.
Well, and what we're finding out, the common idiot like me is finding out that, like, hey, maybe a lot of times it wasn't cancer, it was just parasites.
Yeah.
And that's what ivermectin does, is kills parasites, correct?
Yeah. So there's that we know of, there's over 400,000 different types of parasites. Ivermectin kills a decent amount of them. what we do, so when we set people up and we go through everything, the first thing we do is we call a kill and refill. So we kill parasites and yeast overgrowth and bad bacteria and bad viruses and stuff like that. But we will attack parasites with 5 or 6 different tools to make sure that we get them all out. We've been working with parasites since I started this in 2007. And so
and they come from our food? Where the
well,
fuck they
so
come
there's
from?
a lot in our food. If you have animals in your house, cats, dogs, whatever, you've got a parasitic infection.
What about horses and cows?
Definitely. Yeah, you've definitely got some stuff there. But no, that's where a lot of it comes from. And, we don't wash our food, restaurants, like we don't wash our foods in a manner that's going to wash this stuff out. And here's the crazy thing. When you're stressed out, you're neurologically, you shift in what's called a sympathetic state. It shuts off all your digestive functions. One of the things that you don't produce as much anymore is hydrochloric acid in the stomach, which is why we get heartburn. However, when you lose that hydrochloric acid, you lose your primary designed defense system because parasites and viruses and stuff like that cannot survive in a pH of 2, which is hydrochloric acid. When you lose it, your body usually uses a weaker acid to fill the void, pH of about 4. Parasites, H. pylori, different bacteria can survive in that. And so they just pass right through in your intestines, and that's how we get parasitic infections.
That's crazy. It makes sense because you're right. Like you don't see how a restaurant washes. And, listen here, a restaurant is a business. And
Right.
we know how employees operate in every business. And so we know there's corners cut and things not done right. I'm not necessarily a germaphobe, but it is always weird seeing people with raw hands making your food or whatever the case may be. It's like, okay, I guess. And I'm an outdoors guy, but I'm like in a restaurant, then we're not putting on gloves and stuff like that, but it was always funny to me. It's like they got a mask on, but they're fucking fingering our food. You know what
exactly.
I mean? So that was really so in 2020, early on, it was like February, you and I were at the Cowboy Club, which is, if you're not from this area, it's Jerry Jones's private club in Frisco, Texas. Really fancy, upscale place. Not sure how I got in. I know how you got in. You're a doctor. I snuck in. They must have really needed membership when they first got started, and so I got in early. It's crazy to think I've been a member there for like 9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have too, right?
Well, it's like, everything's gone so quickly. Like the world has just changed so much.
Yeah. But it's like, fuck, man, that was a field in that building when it started, for real. And so anyway, Amy and I were meeting with you just for dinner. I think it was you and Lulu, and we were just having a double date for dinner there. And you were like, hey, there's this thing coming down the wire with this COVID-19, and I know you keep hearing about it, but this is what changed. I was like, oh, okay, Matt's not one of them. You go, we already know what COVID is. We've been studying these COVID viruses for a long time. This isn't anything, these coronaviruses aren't anything new. And they're going to make a big deal out of this. And this is what you see. You may not want me to say it's live on the air, but fuck it anyway. Monaco can clean it if you don't want to. Be like, they're going to use this to steal the election or some shit like that. Yeah. And this was February. And I remember getting back in my car at the time. I had a Rolls Royce. And I got back in my car. And I told Amy, I said, I like the doctor. Because she has always been seeing you and taking the kids to you. Yeah. Me, you've had to come over when I broke my neck once, and you're like, dude, I'm coming over to check on you. I mind my business,
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I feel like I could really trust Matt because, I feel like this all bullshit. Maybe it's not still an election, but do you think he's a little overreacting with them going to shut us all down? She's like, yeah, they're not going to shut us all down. Fuck, 2 weeks later, California, New York shut down. 3 weeks later, Chicago shut down. Then I think I'm 99% positive you were with me. We went to this little private party with 50 Cent. And then that night they announced while we were there at the party that Texas was shut down. Yeah. That was like in April or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this is going to be our last big party for a while. But little did they know we threw some bangers at the house, though, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
That was a lot of good times. But, you saw this shit coming way before they did all this stuff,
Well, so, in hindsight, in some of this stuff, you can add this stuff in. What ended up happening was that our government, the NIH, through Fauci, created the coronavirus, the COVID virus, for a couple of different reasons. One was to depopulate China. There's a whole thing on China you can go through. But the other thing was to sell the COVID vaccine. And I really think that because, again, Gates' talk was in 2008. They've been planning this for a long time to reduce the population of the planet because that's been their goal.
That's been like 500,000 deaths because of that vaccine.
Oh, it's been millions of deaths.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So like, there's a lot of things that people aren't attributing it to. Like, so for instance, like when we do our big, like welcome in, like we're going to do all the exam, like the executive physical type of thing. One of the things we've changed was we used to do a calcium CT. What we changed to the CT angiogram. And the reason is because COVID has created a lot of inflammation in the blood vessels. And so we're getting a lot of soft plaque. So we're going to see a ton more heart attacks and strokes. We're going to see a ton more diabetes.
It's only a matter of time.
We're going to see a whole bunch more cancer, even in people who weren't vaccinated. And because of what COVID is doing to us, just from what's in the air and everything else around us. So it is a really, really, really big deal.
How does someone, check heart problems, or what would they do to,
So this gets into one of the things that I always talk about. Like, so one of the big lies we've been told is that cholesterol is bad for you.
Right.
God created your cholesterol for a lot of really important things, like building your brain and fueling your heart and making all your hormones and all the whole jazz. It's not, the amount of cholesterol has nothing to do with it. In 2009, UCLA Medical did a giant study of 136,000 people who were in the hospital because they had a heart attack. And what they showed was over 75% of those people who'd had a heart attack had cholesterol levels that were within the range. And so what you actually want to do if you're worried about your heart is you get an echocardiogram and you get a CT angiogram. Now, when we do it, we do the CT angiogram early because it has dye, and then you do all of our detox stuff that we're normally going to do to pull the dye out. But those are the two studies you really want to do, because an echocardiogram is literally a video of your heart beating. Any leaky valves, any overpressurization, we can see how much blood's kicked out of the heart every time it beats. Like, we can see everything mechanical your heart's doing, and we can figure out a problem years ahead of time.
Yeah.
The CT angiogram,
which is important, because you better be preventative than late. Once you find out you got some shit, you're probably too late.
Well, the first time that people usually find out they have a heart issue is they have a heart attack and die.
Yeah.
So, but all that can be prevented if you just do the tests right.
Yeah.
But those tests don't lead to pharmaceutical sales. They don't lead to statin drug sales. Right. So nobody does those tests.
Right.
And so that's when people come in, like, we're going to do the test. Nobody does.
And it's different for you guys because a lot of these people are on the insurance hamster wheel.
Right.
And a doctor, like, for example, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because I do wear a tinfoil hat on Wednesdays. But it's my understanding that insurance companies would tell doctors, if 10% or 15 or 40% of your patients don't have the COVID vaccine, we're going to drop you as your carrier. So they kind of hold them hostage there to where, hey, I got to give these vaccines away, but if not, I'm going to lose 40% of my fucking business because they're going to go somewhere else. I mean, that's got to be such a...
So the big thing on this, and people don't know this, and it's out enough that you can find it, and it's readily available now. The vast majority of pediatric offices in this country, if they did not get the kickbacks from the insurance companies for their vaccines, would close, because a lot of the times it's between $80,000 and $250,000 that kickback per year per provider. And so if you have two pediatricians and 4 NPs in one office, you have 6 providers, that can be $1 million a year. Yeah. And so what happens to any business, let's say it's making $5 million a year, $6 million a year, or even 10, and someone comes along and goes, we're taking $1 million out of this. So you go from 5 to 4, 6 to 5. Very few companies are like, oh, we planned on that.
Yeah.
We're only using 30% of our income. You can take that $1 million, we'll still survive. So these guys won't survive. And so what ends up happening is that they come through, and the insurance companies come through, and they say, if 90% of your patient population is fully vaccinated, we'll give you the bonus. If 89% is, we won't give it to you. And
so it's easier for them to fire you as a client and get you off their roster than Jesus.
That's the real reason.
That's why they were such dicks about, I have a lot of friends that were like, well, we're just not going to go see our doctor anymore. And now that's weird because in my opinion, it should set a lot of them and the insurance companies, and I know there's some immunities there for lawsuits, because like, you denied us health care because of our personal choice in order for some sort of financial gain. That seems like a definite break of any kind of Hippocratic oath.
It is 100% against the informed consent laws. Yeah. 100%. Because in the informed consent laws, it's like you have to tell them everything that could possibly go wrong, and then if they choose not to do that, you cannot have in any way anything that like pushes back against them, or like, hey, because you chose X, this is a bad thing that's going to happen to you, and including, we're going to deny your children medical care unless you give your kids the drugs we get a kickback on. Yeah. That's literally what they're saying.
And now 5 years later, we're like, that's one of the most dangerous things that, the autism rate is up. A few years ago, somebody dies, you're like, wow, that's tragic, you know? Now you're like, was he vaccinated? You know, is he vaccinated?
Yeah.
You want to know because
Every
you're
time.
like, fuck, it's like this guy's in great shape and he dies in the middle of playing soccer in Australia or some shit. You're like, oh, yeah, you go to social media, like, yep, he was pushing that shit in 2020. It's like fucking sad. And what was even worse is guys like you and I be like, dude, you guys are not right. Masks don't work and this shit will kill you. And people are like, you know, fucking, it was like we were going to go to jail or people were going to come dox us or some shit. It was crazy.
It was horrible. Like my social media is still messed up because in 2020, I figured out how to successfully treat COVID in 2020.
I remember.
And we were using quinine and hyperbaric oxygen. And to this date, nobody else is doing that. But we were, you know, people would come in pulse oxes in the 79s. Like I was carrying people into my office and then putting them on quinine, putting them in the hyperbaric chamber, and 10 minutes later they're coming back. I posted that on social media and it destroyed my social media.
Oh, I bet.
Trying to tell people, hey, look, here's a way, like, not even like you have to do this or like, but here's a way that's working. Like I found a way, like it's a blood vessel issue. We give vasodilators and we max out the oxygen that's in the tissue and we're healing people and saving people. We're pulling people out of hospitals to save their lives. And I posted that, and not only did it get taken off Facebook and taken off YouTube, but I got like YouTube sends me nasty emails all the time about how I disagree with the CDC and they're going to delete my account and stuff like that. But it destroyed our social media, and because YouTube is owned by Google, it destroyed our Google listing.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had to change from Chalmers Wellness, and we just found this out. One of my buddies just told me what was going on with Google with my stuff. They're like, you're banned. And so I had to change to pillarsofwellness.com. I had to change my whole URL just to get around Google slamming my Chalmers Wellness.
You know, I talked to Micah one time, and I'm like, man, you know, he sued Roundup and a big part of all that stuff. And I was like, dude, the next big class action is all these business owners who started on Facebook in 2010, 2012, and then somewhere around Trump's first election, and then somewhere around 2020 for the second election, they shadow banned us, and they shadow banned us under false pretense. This is wrong against the CDC, even though we were fucking right.
Yep.
Okay. And the second thing is, like, a guy like me, they might have cost me tens of millions of dollars because of holding, like, now I'll post something. I had something the other day. It got 9,000 likes on Facebook, and I got a message saying that my reach has been limited.
Yeah.
Really. So I've been tracking it forever. And when Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan's podcast and he said, we're going to stop with the ban shit, almost immediately I started hitting 7-8 figures again in a month in my reach and on Facebook and Instagram. And I've been tracking that. And I guarantee if enough of us got together and said we were conservative, especially if we're conservative white men, and we say we were fucking marginalized and silenced, and all we were trying to do would be patriots and save our citizens and our country from something that's now been proven without a shadow of a doubt to be exactly what the fuck we said it was. You silenced us and fucking harmed America. There should be a massive fucking, this should be the first $1 trillion suit ever. Because I know if my fucking poor ass missed out on maybe, let's say, $10 million because it limited my reach, what did Frisella miss out on? What did Mylett miss out on? What did fucking Rogan miss out on? Because, you know, they deplatform Rogan on a lot of shit. What did Alex Jones miss out on?
Oh my God, yeah.
I got conspiracy with Alex, I gotta say, man. First of all, he's gotten on the peptides and testosterone, and he's looking really good. I saw him on Tim Dillon, who, if you don't listen to him, he's fucking hilarious. But I saw him on Tim Dillon's podcast yesterday. But, you know, Alex Jones, I think what may have happened to him, or is in the process of trying to happen, is they stuck some bullshit case, Sandy Hook. He never said it wasn't real. He said it was a fucking psyop. There's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with them, to be honest with you. Yes, were kids killed? Yeah. Do I think the CIA or somebody like that did it? For sure, right? Because it was the one that started the shit. I still think they're behind that shit. So anyway, I say that because they get $1 billion judgment against him, right?
Yeah.
But yet InfoWars is still running and he's still talking. So I think they're like, okay, now we've got leverage over you that we could never fucking get before. So here's what your talking points are now. You know what I mean? Because he's changed his tone a little bit. You know,
and that is it is sad that, you know, the censorship goes. But here's the thing about that interview with Zuckerberg. He didn't say it was his decision. What he said was the federal government came down and forced him to do that. So
he did say that.
What we have to understand is that what happens, what is it called when we have the federal government and private companies colluding together to misinform or direct the social masses?
Treason.
fascism.
Yeah, fascism.
So, like, they kept telling Trump he was a fascist, but Biden was doing active fascist work at the time. And that they were doing it with Google, they were doing it with Facebook. That the person who solved that issue was Elon Musk.
Yeah.
When he bought X, and he was like, I'm not going to put up with this bullshit. I'm going to tell the truth. Everybody else was like, we can't lie anymore because they're going to know. Musk is going to tell everybody the truth. Yeah. We can't lie. And that's really, I think, what broke where they decided, okay, we're going to come out and tell the truth now.
Yeah, and I think in the beginning, we have a lot of uninformed people. I think COVID forced a lot of people to go down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
You know, and eventually you're going to click on the right website that changes your mind, you know, and I think what happens at the beginning of COVID, 10% of the population were like you and I, like, no, it could be bullshit, right? Yeah. Then 90% wasn't, but by 6 months worth of lockdown with nothing to fucking do, and they'd been on the internet all day looking at this and that and everything else, like people started to slowly wake up. I think it was probably the worst thing they could do because now people trust the government less and are more prepared to rise up against it than I've ever seen before. I mean, think about this. A year ago, anything Israel did, they're our best friends. And now all of a sudden, fuck, dude, half of America, I saw a study the other day said 60% of America is like the Israelis are fucking crooked. They're our worst fucking ally. They bombed 8 places in 9 months, you know? Well, that's got to be a record.
Well, you know, you know, if you look at what's going on with the Palestinians, and that's, you know, that's near and dear to my heart, you know, that's genocide.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's one of those things where, like, you look at the stuff and it's like a lot of this stuff is going on is really bad. Like the whole Epstein thing was a Mossad CIA, you know, blackmail ring.
The theory on him that I've heard that makes the most sense is that he was one of these guys that was just rogue, period. So he was funded by a few people, sure, Mossad, CIA, but he wasn't an affiliate of anything. He just was a guy that knew. And I have this theory, okay? This is going to sound crazy. But after listening to Frisella and Alex Jones and a few people talk about it, I've drawn my own conclusions. And I'm probably wrong, but what if Epstein wasn't a pedophile, but what if he was a trafficker for these pedophiles for blackmail? So when they say we have thousands of videos, we think, oh, it's Epstein being a pedophile. It's probably people we know very good and well as being pedophiles. And, you know, I've known guys that sell drugs that don't do drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they do, and they get guys and they go to the strip club with them and do all the same, get hookers and all that same shit, but they don't do drugs.
Yeah.
But they're in that scene. So I can imagine it being the same way. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's
you want younger girls? I can get them for you or whatever.
Yeah, you want the younger boys, you want the younger girls. Like, it doesn't matter. But, like, they filmed all that stuff. And then they turned around and were like, hey, we got films of you doing all these horrible things to these kids. Mm-hmm. You know, vote this way, do this thing, you know, overlook this thing, and we won't disclose this. And that was the entirety of what they were doing.
Well, you wonder why, like, you know, George Clooney was like one of the biggest donors to the DNC last year. Mm-hmm. That's fucking weird. You're an actor. You're not even that. I mean, I know you got a little Casamigos money and shit like that, but that was a minority. You're saying to the average person, they're like, oh, he made $100 million. Like, no, they sold it for $1 billion or whatever. He probably cleared $10-20 million off the deal when it was all said and done. The alcohol business is very small margins and shit in the end. But how is that guy? Okay, let's say he's worth $100 million. How fuck is that guy the biggest donor to the fucking one of the biggest donors to the Democrats? And you're like, oh, well, what if he was on one of those jets? And this is the other thing is like, hey, you're not a politician, so we can't tell you how to vote or what bills to pass or whatever the case may be. But now we're going to need $50 million a year in donations to the DNC. Or, you know, your other acting career comes out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and a lot of that stuff that people don't, I think people kind of know, is that when you get to that level, that's not a donation, it's an investment.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm going to give you this money, and then I need you to clear this thing that's over here. I have an investment in this. You need to make sure that, you know, you give these guys the contract.
Yeah.
So I'll give you $10 million here, and I'll make $35 million over here. And that's how a lot of that higher end stuff works. I know a lot of guys on both sides of the aisle that do that.
Yep.
And that's always what it is. You
know, rich people sell to consumers, wealthy people sell to businesses, and fuck you money people sell to governments.
Yes.
You know, the richest people, Amazon's not rich because we buy shit from fucking Amazon for $20 a pop or whatever the case may be. Amazon's rich because the government rents all those servers from them and pays for their AI and gives them grants and tax breaks to build buildings and all this other shit. That's where they're getting the Elon Musk. You know, there's a lot of Teslas out there, but if you look at the financials, it doesn't make that much money overall compared to everything. But them spaceships, you know, I say this all the time. It's like me and you, we know how much a screw at Home Depot costs, but what does a space screw cost?
That's right. Yeah.
Any fucking thing you say. You're like, hey, at 13 cents, oh, we had it space inspected. It's $1,500 a screw now.
Well, that's how, like, that's a lot of the FAA. Like, you know, guys, like, you're into
same shit from the fucking airplanes.
And the jet thing. Like, you're like, I was talking to one of my buddies who has a jet, and he's like, there's a 38-cent washer at Home Depot that cost me $900 for my jet. It's just the same quick disconnect thing. And I was like, what happens if you, if it doesn't have the FAA stamp on it? And he was like, I get a big fine and they ground my plane.
Yep.
And that's how it is for all that stuff.
Absolutely.
So, because they just kind of want to keep that, like, there's so many payoffs going on that you got to keep that stuff going with expensive stuff.
Think about how they're funneling money. Like, here's one thing we've learned in the last year, or that I've learned, and I think a lot of people have too, is we're paying for these fuckers to do this shit to me. They're taking our money and then doing it back to us. They're draining us through. The U.S. aid was a huge wake up for everybody. You're like, oh, wait, they're just laundering money to get people to go back to vote and politicians? What the fuck? Okay. So that's how Nancy Pelosi, who's never had a job making more than $250,000 her whole life, has fucking $1 billion net worth. Yep. Okay. Dude, I think a lot of people woke up. I think going back to put a bow on the Epstein thing, I think the government always goes, look at this. Well, shit. And right now everybody thinks, oh, we're all focused on the Epstein files and Israel's bombing the shit out of everybody over in the Middle East, right? I don't think it's that. I think they're saying videos and files because they don't want us to look at those financial records. Who gives a fuck about a video? Like, the video, cool. But if I check those financial records, I'll know who the fuck's in those videos. I won't have to see weird fucking shit, which I don't want to see anyway because that's disturbing to me, right?
I don't want that in my brain.
I don't either. Because you can't. I watched this movie one time called Serbian film. That's the name of the movie. 1010, do not watch it. It's like, but like, it's one thing that, like, once I seen it, like, I just watched the first 20 minutes. I'm like, I'll never fucking forget this shit. So I can't imagine. And so when we were like in our 20s, our friends had a test. You remember we used to watch, like, see if you could handle 2 girls in 1 cup. And Serbian films, like a crazy thing like that, right? But so the internet's gone. We've really evolved, though. We've gotten better, you know. But I want to know the financial records because I want to see all the transaction of who. I'll know if you just give me the finance, especially as a lender, I'll know who the fuck was on that jet and who's in videos and who went to that island and who made investments and why and where it went. That's what we so they're saying, oh, videos and files. Hey, fuck that. Just give us the bank statements, bro. Yeah. That's all we need.
Yeah. That's all we want to see.
We'll figure, give us all of his financial records. We'll figure everything out from there.
Yeah. But the thing is, if you give us the financial records, that'll tie everybody else in. Mm-hmm. Okay, hey, you guys spent a whole lot of money in this weird company. Yeah. Who else spent money in this weird company? Oh, well, these guys. Are they on this list? Oh, they are. What did this company do with that money once they got it? Oh. Yeah. That's the stuff. Like, that's the trail I want to see.
That's weird.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. That's stuff I want to see.
Yeah.
But, that's just kind of goes back to the whole thing of, where we're going with all of this. And, what's going on with our psychological, our mental health, everything. Like, everything is kind of going in that direction of where, we always get the short end of the stick. Like, our stress is too high. We're getting screwed over. Like, and we talked about this a lot, whenever they gave all that money for EIDL and all that stuff, we're like, we're going to see double-digit inflation for several years. And we talked about that.
Yep. Why haven't they forgiven that? That seems like that would be a big fucking deal. Like, hey, I know that the COVID was bullshit. I know the vaccines were bullshit. We shut your business down and forced you to take loans that have now been interest only for 5 fucking years. So you haven't paid a dime of the fucking principal off of it, right? Like, I'm surprised Trump hasn't forgiven because I think there was over 2 million business owners that took the EIDL loan. Most of us, myself included, I took it out on one of my companies because we couldn't do events. Remember? Like, I have an event company, and so it was the only way that we were able to do MDM in 21 and 22 because we took money in 2020 to keep that bitch open. And because literally, like, hotels kept our money. We had to refund tickets. I don't know if you remember all that shit, but it was fucking hell. And I look up and I'm like, why is Trump not even mentioning, like the director of SBA hasn't even said, hey, you know, and it wasn't a massive amount. It was like $10 billion worth of which in the grand scheme of things seems like it goes to other countries daily. So it's not, I don't understand why they haven't forgiven that. Cause they did, they said, shut your business down. And you're like, well, fuck, how do I pay my mortgage? Well, there's been an economic disaster, so we'll give you a loan to pay your mortgage. And the big selling point was it's going to be forgiven. Then they forgave the PPP, which was a lot smaller than the EIDL, at least was for me. It's like they forgave the PPP, and it's like, cool. What about the other 50% of this shit you suckered us? Because I never had any business debt in my life until that moment.
Yeah.
And but it was either you like take this debt out, or you know, in my case, embarrass yourself as a fucking failure in front of everybody, and that's how I felt. You know what I mean? So had to do it. Still hasn't even. There's not even been a peep about it from the White House.
Well, a lot. The nice thing is that because it was not personally guaranteed, like a lot of those guys were just like, all right, I'll just spool up a new LLC and I'll let this one go. And like, sorry, if you don't hold a personal guarantee, when it goes bankrupt, it goes bankrupt. See you later. And so I think a lot of people are just using that out. And I'm not an accountant. I don't know how well that works for people.
My ass would be scared the feds would arrest me for some bullshit. The two strikes makes you think a little bit different.
Well,
you know
I can see that. But, you know, and the Fed's going to come down.
But it makes sense.
The Fed's going to come down and do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it, regardless.
Yeah, true.
You know, and that is 100% a thing. So, you know, you just got to be like, I'm going to do what's right until, you know, something bad happens. Like, you know, talking about, and I'll run you through it, like talking about how to fix diabetes. Diabetes is worth $120 billion a year to maintain, and nobody fixes it. And it's not that hard. So like the way, so diabetes, just as an example, is insulin resistance. And the easiest way to explain insulin resistance is with bacon. And so walk me through on this one. So if you've ever made bacon, and then in the middle of making it, you walked out to your garage for a minute or two, and you walk back in the house, and you're just like, oh my God, the whole house smells like bacon. You didn't smell the bacon while you were making it, but once you walked away and came back, now all of a sudden you smelled it. So when you don't smell the bacon, that's kind of like what we look at for like insulin resistance. Your body's making a lot of insulin, but your body can't hear it, doesn't know it's there because it's always there. Well, just like with bacon resistance, all you got to do to fix that is to take away the stimulus that creates insulin, let the insulin levels come back down, your body will become sensitive to it again, and now you're not type 2 diabetic anymore. This is a pretty easy path. The only thing is that, you know, yeah, your diet has contributed to this 90%, right. But it's not just the sugars you're eating, it's the chronic inflammation. That chronic inflammation from the parasitic infections and from all those other things are holding your inflammatory markers high, which holds insulin levels high. So not only do you have to clean your diet, but you've got to do the detox stuff. So once you do that, you're good. But man, I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of people that I've just told them about, I'd say about 30 to 40% of all type 2 diabetics in the country, if they would get on a vegetarian diet, a keto diet, a high protein diet, a paleo diet, anything that doesn't have any processing in it.
For a short period of time.
For like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
That's all it really takes, because then what ends up happening is that you take all the toxins out, and all those diets are low glycemic. That's why they're healthy. And so that low glycemic means you're going to produce a small amount of insulin. When you do that for 3, 4, 5 months, it brings it back down. Now, some people are going to have sleep apnea, which is a problem that you've got to deal with. And some people are going to have chronic inflammation, parasitic infections that are too big. You got to deal with those first. But that's the path out. And it's literally not that hard. Like I have people every day, and I start, like when I see people, I'm like, give me your 10 favorite foods. Ice cream, pizza, popcorn. I don't give a damn, whatever it is. I'll teach you how to make a diet out of all your favorite foods that'll fix your diabetes, because it's just no processing and bring the inflammation down. We do that and it gets better. No one's talking about that. No one's coming out and being like, guys,
you're fucking up $120 billion a year hustle, bro. That's why nobody's talking about it. If everybody, let's say I own a software company and like nobody's talking about they're stealing their information, like shut the fuck up, dude. This is how we get paid, right? Like,
well, I think that's the.
But the problem we have here on this planet, and it is detrimental to a business owner, because I feel this way. If we put money first over people.
Yes.
And And again, this is God's way, is like, hey, eat something natural and then your body will do natural shit, versus pharmacy's way of, well, just get on this insulin reducing shot twice a day and ruin your skin and poke holes in yourself. And you know, if you lose a foot because of that, you know, God gave you two. And, I mean, it's bullshit, you know, but it keeps us going back to, you didn't say, oh, you need to take PCP and blah, blah, blah. I don't know drug names, but you were just like, hey, man, maybe you just eat eggs and steak for like 3 months and let your body settle back down and get its litmus tests steadied out to where it needs to be. And then you'll be sensitive to it and know when not to eat the shit.
And you'll be fine. And dementia, it's funny because dementia is just one step further on type 2 diabetes because, and this is the cool thing, your brain communicates with insulin. Your brain makes insulin and it communicates with it. And it uses it in the hippocampus, which is for memory, and the hypothalamus, which is for drive and like hunger and stuff like that. The cerebral cortex, or the executive function, that uses it there, and it uses it for smell and taste. Well, what do we see in dementia and Alzheimer's patients? Their memory goes away, their drive to eat changes, and their ability to think clearly goes away because the insulin resistance is keeping the brain from communicating. Yeah. So again, you clear out type 2 diabetes, rebuild the brain, and you're good. And that's but we don't talk about that because
you fuck up $120 billion a year hustle. Well, you think about the ramification of that: jobs, taxes that come into our government, those taxes laundered into bullshit back to the politicians that make up the. I mean, they can't talk about it because it fucks up a lot of millions of people's hustle. You know. Well,
you know, at the end of the day, like I'm a patience over profit guy.
Yeah, me too.
And so like I'd rather heal a bunch of people than make billions of dollars. But that's me. Like, and there's a lot of other guys out there like me. It's like I'm special. There's a lot of guys out there like me, and it's like, we just need to get this information to people and be like, this is how you do it. Yeah. Like just drop your glycemic function, clean your diet up, get the processing out, kill the parasites, and the vast majority of you guys won't be diabetic anymore.
Well, that brings me to the last talking point that I've got here is it seems like the government and the pharmacies, I'm at the age, I'm almost 46 years old. I'm at the age where whatever the government, pharmacy, or media says, I'm almost like a defiant 2-year-old or defiant teenager. I'm gonna do the opposite of it. When in 2020, when they were like, put a mask on, the fuck I will. Yeah. And dude, I since I left prison the second time, I have not been in a fist fight with anybody. I'm not even remotely close, right? And dude, during 2020, 2021, I was like inches away from fighting women sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It was just ridiculous. But I knew it wasn't good for you because how come clogging up my fucking oxygen helped me? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We learned most of our lives that marijuana is bad for you. You know, marijuana is not even a real thing. It's a made up government bullshit fucking name, right? We were told our whole life this fake name was going to reefer madness drive you crazy, when it turns out cannabinoids are some of the most healthiest fucking things that you can put in your body, and your body naturally makes it in every single fucking cell you have anyway. Right? So our whole lives are like, this plant's bad. Catch it, you go touch it, smoke it, eat it, you go to prison. And then here we are 60 years later, still fucking, they're weird in Texas about this shit, but 60 years later, we're still like 50% of the country, maybe 40% of the country at this point is like, weed's bad for you. Have you seen alcohol?
Oh my God.
Right? Like at least like let's just make some distinctions here from the common man's mindset. Okay. Marijuana, the cannabinoids are in every cell of your body. It's natural. You don't have to process it. You don't have to synthesize it. You don't have to do anything. It is a natural plant. Alcohol is nowhere in your body ever, never. Like your body doesn't produce alcohol.
Doesn't make ethanol.
Yes, yeah. And so you're putting a foreign substance into your body, which the worst case scenario, I guess, weed could cause some lung damage. You know, with smoking blunts and shit like that, because you're introducing other stuff and fire. But like alcohol is proven to damage livers, kidneys, fucking pancreases. I mean, just anything it can, heart disease, anything. But it's no problem for that shit to be everywhere, in every store, anywhere you go into, and they're making it more and more accessible.
Correct.
Right. I'm sure it happens, but people don't typically go 100 miles an hour and run red lights and crash into people while smoking pot.
No.
But it's pretty common practice, it seems, in America
for alcohol.
On alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, we had a guy the other day drunk, kicked out of a club, went and got in his little fucking Subaru or whatever fucking shit he had and ran over those 30 people in the LA nightclub. Coolest story there. Some dude shot his fucking ass and they still ain't found him.
Yeah.
Like, that dude's a fucking legend, bro. If they ever catch you, I don't want you to come on the show, but if they ever catch you, so come on the show. We want to talk about that. That's awesome. But we find out that MDMA is helping soldiers and veterans deal with PTSD. We're finding out ketamine and ibogaine are helping people quit fucking alcohol. And these are all, we're finding out mushrooms open your mind and make you more empathetic and understanding of other people's. And all of these things this whole time that they've said, they're illegal, they're bad, we're fucking locking you up in prison, it'll destroy your life. Mushrooms, MDMA, cannabis, ketamine, highly Schedule I drugs. But then they're like, hey, let's prescribe everybody meth.
Yeah.
Let's just, you know what?
Yeah.
These natural things that fix all these fucking problems with ADHD and everything else. Let's go get some Nazi dope with red phosphorus and P2P and fucking get all the kids on fucking meth.
Yes.
No fucking. So here's our government. Okay, let's get everybody to be a fucking drunken meth addict, as many people as we fucking can, while God has provided these mushrooms that grow in cow shit, this weed that grows pretty much anywhere in the fucking world that you plant a fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's fucking crazy.
Well, and so, it's funny. I did my TED talk on replacing opioids with cannabis. And the funny thing is that people are like, the way alcohol works in the body and the way opioids work in the body, one of the reasons that alcohol and opioids kill you is because it damages and shuts off the pons. The pons is a part of your brainstem that's responsible for it's the reason we breathe while we're asleep or passed out. And when it shuts it off, you just stop breathing. Cannabis doesn't do that. That's why you don't die from smoking weed, but you do die from drinking too much alcohol or taking too many opioids. We've known this for a long time. And like you said, you cannot survive without your endocannabinoid system. You just can't. It's so tied into your nervous system. And so what we see with cannabis is that now cannabis is a dose function. So we have to recognize that. Because people are like, oh, I get paranoid whenever I smoke dope. I'm like, it's because you're smoking too much.
You're taking bong hits, Snoop Dogg.
You took too much. Like, take 10 grams, not 50 grams, right? But, we've seen it's phenomenal for anxiety. It's phenomenal for pain. It shuts down the amygdala function. So fear, hate, anger, terror calms that down. It's the number one thing for stress. And so it was funny. This is a great story. So I had this woman who was, trying to get healthy, and she was an executive, so she'd have wine every night to calm her down. Well, a glass of wine usually turns into 3 glasses of wine. And so
it does for Amy.
Yeah. So what we did is we swapped out she swapped out the ice cream she was eating, and I gave her my strips. And so she's using cannabis and different ice cream. She lost 20 pounds in like 6 weeks. And she's like, this is better. She's completely quit drinking and just moved over to cannabis because she's like, I'll chill out. She's like, I found my dose. She's like, I'll chill out, relax. I feel like I can breathe. Feel like the stress is finally gone. And she's like, but I don't get silly. I can be around my kids. Like, I'm not drunk around my kids. Like, everything's great. And so, like, as people start to find this stuff out and they started making this massive shift over to cannabis away from alcohol, that's why Texas just came out and banned every single type of Delta 8, Delta 9, besides the stuff that you're getting prescriptions for. Yeah. Like they're voting on it right now.
Yeah. Again, for the third goddamn
time.
We have a short window of laws to pass in this state, and they're focused 100% on fucking weed for some reason.
Right. No one's died from it.
I am a believer that maybe weed shouldn't be legal here. Because it hasn't really helped any states that made it legal. I can't name one red state that went legal and it's like everything's better, right? It kind of fucked Colorado up. Maybe that had something else to do with it. It seemed like kind of fucked Colorado up a little bit. Oklahoma, where we also live, there it's legal there. And 3 years ago, there was a dispensary everywhere. Now they've regulated that a little bit better, and we're still in the infancy of it. But I don't prefer, like, here's what I look at with weed in Texas. Like, hey, we got other shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, who gives a fuck? Like you guys are going back in this hard-headed fucking old boomer fucking stupid uninformed. We even have the ex-governor of fucking Texas, Rick Perry, one of the most stand-up fucking don't drink pricks on the planet. This guy was straight as a fucking arrow on his conservative stance. Hard conservative. Now he's like, dude, I was wrong. I was fucking wrong. But we can't get these fuckers in our Congress here to just leave. Just shut the fuck up and move on, right? You don't even have to make anything extra illegal. It's already illegal. And if people want, they can order from the CBD shops or whatever the case may be. Just leave it as it is. Quit fucking going back. Like,
well, they're shutting down all the CBD shops. That's what this
So
that's what
if
this
it
one is.
passes, the last time it passed, and Abbott said no again.
Yeah,
but-
so they're voting on it again. But and that's
which
one of
makes
those,
no sense.
It
It's
makes
like,
no sense.
That's like double. It's like, hey, you beat a murder. It's like trying OJ twice. I know you beat that murder case, but we're not happy with that verdict, so we're
we're
going
going to keep doing this because we're going to get paid for it every time we put it to bill.
And the only motherfucker to listen to now I don't like Abbott, but the only motherfucker to listen to the constituents through that whole thing was the fucking governor. Who, by the way, like I think this is his last time in office. I don't think he can be elected again, or maybe
I don't know. Brian Harrison has been looking for consumers, but here's my issue on this.
It's fucking crazy.
This is not a cannabis problem. What we're actually looking at is, I think that we should come out and be like, stop. I don't want to talk about cannabis. I don't want to talk about ibogaine. Here's what I want from the government. You have to make a massive argument why you're going to keep things from my body. Why do you think you have the right to tell me what I can and can't put in my body? Right. And this is the reason I think we should all kind of stand up on this one. As soon as they think that they have the right to tell us what we can put in our body, they're going to tell us what we have to put in our body. Yeah. This goes right back to the COVID vaccine thing where they tried to mandate that. So I think we should all take a step back and be like, look, if you're going to force
my body,
me to
my
not,
choice, motherfuckers.
Right. If you're going to remove something that is not hurting anybody so far.
Right.
If you're going to remove this as one of my options, then you think you have control of my body. So I know how you're going to vote next time they try to force a vaccine on us. You're going to vote for that because you've already decided the government has the right to tell me what I can and cannot put or have to put in my body. That's where this argument should be. It shouldn't be over cannabis. It should be over what gives the government the right to think it owns my body and can tell what does, doesn't, and has to go into it.
And honestly, two things. If you're a police officer and you're arresting somebody for possession of weed, don't think you should be fighting real crime. I mean, it starts with you guys. Really, just throw the shit away. Like, listen, the biggest punishment you could give a pothead is throwing his fucking weed away and stomping it on the side of the ground. They'll learn the fucking lesson. Whatever they did, they won't do it again next time. I promise.
That's right. That's right.
Like, just throw their fucking drugs away. And it really, that goes with, I don't know, if you catch somebody stealing and shit like that and they got drugs on them, but in all reality, like, just arrest them for stealing and throw their drugs away. It's ridiculous to clog up our judicial system with that. The second thing is, they ask every one of us to sit on a jury at some point, and we got to at some point just go, dude, if he's fucking caught with weed, I'm going to say not guilty no matter what.
Yeah. I don't care about that anymore.
Yeah, like if you put me on a jury and they're like, he had 12 pounds of weed, I'm like, none of that's going to kids. None of that's fucking not guilty.
Yeah, he's good.
There's a picture with them standing on it. I don't see him. They say all of them look alike. He could be anybody, like that's.
Yeah. Well, and so the other side of that is, like you touched on this earlier, people are like, oh, so you want all drugs to be legal. I would rather all drugs be legal because then I have access to all the psychedelics. Yeah. Our government has done a giant amount of research on psilocybin, LSD, and ayahuasca, and they know, because the research is in, that it cures PTSD and addictions with an 85 to 90% efficacy, which means 80% to 90% of the time, you're going to go in horribly addicted to something or massive PTSD, and 2-3 weeks later, you're done, you're finished. Like I have had veterans I've talked to, and I'm like, how bad was the PTSD? And they're like, I know what all my guns taste like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, and I'm like, what happened? They're like, so I did ibogaine, or I did the psilocybin, or I did the ketamine, or I did these psychedelics, and then I was fine. Yeah. Like, 3 sessions, 10 sessions, 3 weeks, I was fine. And we know how it works in the brain. We know how it returns the default neural settings. We know how good it is. We know nobody's died from it. Yeah. But it's more profitable for people to be addicted to drugs, to have PTSD, than it is to fix it. And so that's why these things are not being allowed in. And it's not like I said, we're going to go down to Peru in October, and we're going to do ayahuasca in the Sacred Valley, like with Hamilton, like with these guys who are like, they've been doing this for, a long, long time. These are the best guys to do this with in the world. And the reason we're doing it is because we're starting to integrate that into our PTSD stuff. So like what we'll do is we do what's called a kill and refill. So we fix the metabolic function, because your metabolic function and your emotional function are directly tied. And the easiest way to explain this is that if you've ever known anybody who's ever been hangry, right? Their metabolic needs weren't met. They got too hungry, and so they became an asshole, right? Short, grumpy, pissy, whatever. And then you fed them, met their metabolic needs, and their psychological, emotional needs went back to normal.
That's me daily.
Yeah. It's like people are like, I've been married for 20 years. I know exactly what hangry looks like. But that's the thing. So if we clean up the chemistry, right? So everything's kind of, all the neurotransmitters are back where they're supposed to be. Like, there's a big deal with depression. You replace all the nutrients the body needs, take out all the inflammation. Then we go back through and be like, now I'm going to fix your mind. Now we're going to go through, I'm going to set up the setting intention. So we do a little bit of that. Then we're going to take you through psilocybin or ketamine or ayahuasca. And we're going to reset all the neurotransmitter levels so you don't have the PTSD anymore. And the big thing on ayahuasca is, and I've talked to lots of people about this one, I've never talked to anybody who's done ayahuasca, who's done it properly with the proper setting intention, who didn't come out of it and be like, it radically, fundamentally changed my life for the better.
Yeah.
I did it for me. It's done it for everybody I've ever talked to. And so this is the stuff that we really need to start allowing and running with. And like this, like on our podcast, like on my podcast, I talk about this all the time, and we're going to do all the live stuff when we're down there. But this is a big, big deal. And if you've got addictions, if you've got, major issues like psychological issues that you're trying to get rid of and you can't, this is an avenue you need to have access to. But they're keeping it from people, mostly because you can grow all the psilocybin in your own garage that you ever going to need.
I have cows.
Yeah, you've got cows.
I probably have a shitload of it on my land.
I bet you do.
Yeah, just never looked for it.
Well,
I got a bag of it anyway.
But that's the thing. So imagine, like, think of the SSRIs, which don't work.
Right.
Which is always funny because
which is like Xanax and
Prozac and the Wellbutrin and those other things. Well, so here's the funny thing about that. So we're taking this drug that alters brain chemistry with the hope that we're going to save a little bit of serotonin. If you clean up your gut, kill the parasites, kill the yeast, restore the probiotics, all your serotonin's made in the gut. Why are we taking a drug that damages us to maybe get 3 or 5% more serotonin when we can make 1,000% more the way we're designed to do it, the way God wanted you to do it? Like, that's the easiest way to fix the depression issues. But after that, so like once, like this is one of the things we see with PTSD, what we see with depression. Once you fixed it, if someone's had it for 5 or 6 years, there's a big hole in their life. And you need to kind of dig them out of that hole. And the psychedelics are a great way to do it, because now you see the issues that you were dealing with. Now you see them and you can start dealing with them on a much different level, because what happens is that the difference between the conscious and the unconscious mind is that the conscious mind you can see and deal with. The unconscious mind, you can't. Yeah. And here's the funny thing about this that we're learning. Like, I have a patient, this is a great example.
We don't know what it's doing.
Well, that's the thing, because it's unconscious.
Yeah.
I have a patient who is emotionally scarred and has PTSD because her grandmother went through the Armenian genocide. So here's what actually happens. We have research on this. Your genetics are dictated by your epigenetics. Your epigenetics are dealt with by what happens to you chemically and emotionally. So if you have somebody a generation or two ago who had massive trauma, that trauma will change her genetics. And then when she has a child, that'll change down to you. And so we see this a lot.
Which is the brilliance of God, because think of how that was used originally. This person was mauled by a tiger, so it changed the genetics of the next person to be fucking scared of tigers.
Yes. That's why we're all scared of snakes.
Yeah. 100%.
So that's how that works. And so it was a phenomenal design. It was a great idea. Yeah. The problem is that
now it's used against us.
Now that there's somebody who has this issue, well, let's just fix it.
Yeah.
But they won't let us. They're like, no. That person's buying SSRIs.
Those neurons in their brain. But instead they're like, let's
I've got to
put them on the recurring payment program.
Well, it's the same thing with stem cells. Yeah. I love using stem cells.
I was just about to say that.
But stem cells are illegal in this country because they will fix a lot of problems they don't want fixed. I've got a guy I'm working with who he tells us, it's a great story. Jacob tells this great story with Miracle Hope and CPI, where he was talking about how he was so messed up from being a veteran that he could barely move. Like he could roll over in bed and that would hurt. And so he goes down and does their stem cells, and like 3 or 4 months later, he's running with his kids. Yeah. Goes from can barely move to running with his kids. And we're trying to tell people this, but here's the crazy thing. As a doctor, if you come into me and go, hey, doc, I know you just read a bunch of research on avascular necrosis of the femoral head being fixed with stem cells. Do you think it'll fix my avascular necrosis? And I have to go, I have no idea. Yeah. Because if I tell you it can, I lose my license. Yeah. If I'm like, I think it could, boom, I could lose my license.
You know, I got a good friend that's what he does is still sell stem cells, and here in America, and he's figured out a way around it. He lives in Plano, and they do a fuck ton. Like I'm millions a week. I've seen his fucking accounts because he was looking for a new merchant account a couple of weeks ago because the one he was using online shut him down.
Yeah.
So, and they don't know what the fuck he's selling, but the government must have went in there. And this is the third or fourth time he's had to deal with that. And he's like, you know what, man, fuck them. I stay one step ahead of them because I'm actually helping people. And he, he can't run ads. So they do everything, hotel meetings and stuff. So, but it's crazy to me because they've done the same thing to peptides.
Yeah.
And so here we are. It's like, weed is helpful for certain things. Can't have it. Mushrooms helpful for certain things. Can't have it. Ayahuasca helpful for certain things. Can't have it. Natural peptides. Can't have them. What? Right? Like, it's just in stem cells. They help you, all natural stuff that helps you. I broke my neck in 2019. Obviously, you know that, but in a ATV accident that apparently I'll never fucking live down with my wife. I got to still hear this shit every day. I got this Life 360 app on my phone, and I'll take off on the four-wheeler. She's like, you went 52 miles an hour. I'm like, God damn, this app is such a fucking snitch, right? But I want to take it off because if I delete it, she's going to think, what are you, cheating on me? Or you know how women are, right? So I'm fucking stuck with this. I got to remember to leave the phone behind. But I always hear, it's 52. You didn't learn nothing in 2019, did you? Goddamn care flighted you out of the... Anyway. But Spinoso came over 2 times and gave me 2 different sets of massive amount of stem cells just because he was a friend that cared. And my neck moves and shit works fine.
Yeah.
I don't have any pain. I don't wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning with back pain, but I never wake up in the morning with neck. I've never broke my back. That's just because I'm probably riding ATVs at 52 miles an hour at 40. So probably something to do with that. But so I can firsthand. But you know what? The last time I bought stem cells, I met a dude in Scottsdale who popped the trunk in his Rolls Royce with a styrofoam thing to keep minnows in, and I had to take them, and I had to go bribe some after hours Carter Blood Care place to fucking give it to me. It was the weirdest fucking scenario.
Yeah. Well, and the big thing with the peptides is so my office manager, Rachel, she's 55 or something. So she's playing baseball with 28-year-olds, and this one 28-year-old was a former baseball player in college. This guy hits a line drive. Rachel goes to catches it, misses it. Baseball hits her in the face, shatters her eye orbit, massive trauma in the face. She woke up 5 hours later, and the surgeon was like, because of the nerve damage, she was like, you're gonna lose your eye, and you're never gonna be able to smile again because it damaged the facial nerve, and which is the worst possible thing you can say to a woman, right? You're gonna look fucking terrible from here on out. That's what.
Yeah, now you're ugly. What?
So she's losing her shit, and I'm like, don't listen to that guy. And so we used a variety of peptides, growth hormone peptides, BP 157, all those things. And we regrew her face. We saved her eye, and she can smile. And if you look at her now, you cannot tell anything ever happened.
Is she the lady who bought my house?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell anything. So
yeah. And then my receptionist, she's out at the lake playing with her kids and breaks her leg. You can easy break. You don't even have to be a doctor. Be like, that's where it's broken on the X-ray, right? So she can't walk. We gave her peptides, and 10 days later, she's walking on her ankle like it's no big deal. One of the things...
They don't want us to cure shit.
No.
They put people through 7 years of school. Think about this. We could turn out a lot more doctors with 3 years of school on what really works and getting rid of all the other bullshit, too.
Yeah. Well, but that's the whole thing. It's we don't have a disease eradication model. Yeah. We have a disease management.
Yes.
Because they found out letting you keep your disease but charging you for it every single day, that's a better profit margin. And I'm not arguing. That's definitely a better profit margin. But again, we've got to make a decision somewhere in there. Are we patience over profit, or are we profit over patience?
And look, I'm obviously a capitalist, and I like money and want people to win, but at a certain point, it's like, okay, you're on your 3rd Gulf Stream. Maybe you should lower drug prices.
I mean, maybe.
Hey man, you've got 2 355-foot yachts that cost $400 million each. Maybe we can get a break on insulin prices. You know what I'm saying?
Something.
It doesn't make any sense. And you know what's even more fucked up to me is I learned this a few years ago, that our tax dollars go to our government, which gets funneled back to this vaccine and medicine research. So they actually not only charge us fuck you money for access to it, we actually paid those bastards to fucking make it in the first place.
Yeah, none of the money comes out of the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
So again, the reason, and when I talk about medical system, I'm not talking about the doctors. The medical doctors you guys see are all fantastic human beings. The FDA, the CDC, and the NIH, our government is the ones doing this to us. And
Shocker.
so, yeah, shocker. Our government's screwing us and
Imagine
lying
that.
to us. Like, it's never happened before.
Since the Bible, that's all Jesus was doing, was getting rid of law and government.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sadducees and Pharisees.
That's all he was doing, was getting those guys were senators and House of Representatives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's exactly what those guys were. Just two different branches of government, basically, back then. And like, it seems like the whole precipice of the Bible is like, dude, everything that government does is against man, and it's like a disease that we're catching. And at this point, the government's teamed up. We'll call it the government's teamed up with artificial intelligence at this point, and they're running the fucking score up on us quick, man. You know?
Well, that's going to be, we mentioned this online. That's the scariest thing I've seen. Because if you just look at what's going on right now today, right? So Elon Musk drops, and I like Elon, so he's doing a lot of stuff that someone's going to do it, so I guess Elon's going to do it.
I like him.
Yeah, so he makes the cyber taxi. What does that immediately do? It's going to kill Lyft and Uber. How many guys drive for Lyft and Uber? But it's also going to kill the taxis.
60,000 people drive between the two of them.
In Texas or in the U.S.?
U.S.
All right. So now those people don't have jobs. But here's the bigger picture. That Tesla Cyber, like that Cyber truck, the semi, can drive
Optimus.
itself. Yeah. So now
I'm 100% behind that. Fuck semi-truck drivers. You heard it here first. You cocksuckers are in the fucking left lane doing 65 and a 75 down the fucking freeway, getting in everybody's way. These new Optimus trucks, the best thing Elon Musk can do for America is program those motherfuckers to stay in line in the right lane. God damn it, I hate semi-trucks.
Well,
I've been cheering that shit on. They say that company will be $100 trillion company when they single-handedly replace all the semi-trucks.
Well, so walk that through. So we don't have anybody driving Lyft or Uber. We don't have any semi-truck drivers. The jets now fly themselves. So all transportation we've taken the people out of.
So there's a couple things though. Okay. I see a bigger picture here. Okay. Most of our truck drivers are not American. They're largely Indian, they're largely Afghan, and they're largely Mexican. Okay. Now they're pulling you over, having you read like the Cat in the Hat, like 50 Cent and Floyd Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you could read one chapter of a Harry Potter book, you remember that shit?
You can keep driving.
And so I saw a post the other day. It's like, dude, they had this guy pulled over, Indian dude, asked him to read Cat in the Hat, and he couldn't read it, and they fucking arrested him and took his license from him. So what I see here is, here's the bigger picture, okay? There's 50 million people who aren't supposed to be in this country. Yep. We don't have the infrastructure, the gas, the product. We wasn't made for them because we didn't count them, right? Then when somebody comes over, we increase infrastructure because we have a record of them. If somebody comes over undocumented from any country, right? Second of all, there's been 22 million people alone in the last 4. So half of that's come in the last 4 years. And it looks to me like they're all men. So there's a lot of hoes single somewhere, guys. Yeah. I'm just saying, if you want to do a little research, there's a lot of single ladies somewhere. But second of all, we're not prepared for that. Most of them take these jobs that, like, if you're driving a truck, it's pretty easy. I know you got to get a CDL and shit like that, but there's people that, there's ways to skip everything everywhere, right? And it's pretty easy in my opinion, you guys can hate me for this, but I have to deal with you fuckers every day. The people that are the worst drivers in the world do it for a living. You get in with a taxi cab driver, how many times you went, fuck, the Uber almost killed me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you're like, but you do the driving is the only thing human beings do every day of their life and never fucking get better ever. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? We should all be like Mario Andretti after we've been driving for 10 years. We should have this fucking shit dialed the fuck in and have our 10,000 hours, but you fuckers still drive like a 16-year-old. You're fucking doing 55 in the fast lane. You're fucking holding up traffic. You don't know how to fucking merge. So I say that because I feel like the people that get in the way the most are the taxi cabs, the semi-trucks, so getting them out of the way. At the same time, a lot of the Uber drivers, especially more than the semi-truck drivers, are people that shouldn't be here, right? Low income, low wage people. So as we're moving them out of the country and getting rid of those jobs and automating it, it makes sense. Here's the bigger problem. Trump says we are going to remove 1 million illegal immigrants by the end of the year. Cool. What you going to do with the other fucking 20 million? Yeah. Right. So if we there's I think there was 70,000 ICE agents and CPB agents combined. I think that was the number. And if they remove 3,000 people a day, every day, 2,785 people a day, every day, then that's 1 million people a year. We have a 22-year
problem.
If everybody feels like Trump. If J.D. Vance gets elected next, he could be like, I'm married to an immigrant. I don't feel the same.
Right.
And that be valid. You know what I'm saying? So if we stayed on the same path, we've got a 22-year problem. So in my opinion, these semi-trucks, getting rid of Uber and stuff is a way to ship those people back out because we're like, we don't have low-income jobs for you guys to come take anymore.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I hope that that's the bigger plan behind that is if we get rid of all the, like the other day I saw a machine that picks strawberries. So if we get rid of all these tempting reasons to come to America, then it's like, dude, there's no low-income jobs for us to ship back to our low-income country over there. They fucking automated all that shit. And if you're an American, you ain't working.
Yeah. You just come in legally. Yep. You know, there's plenty of things we can come up with, you know, work visas and like, oh, you want to come.
You're married to an immigrant, correct? Or no? Or just her parents?
Yeah. So both of them. So she came over, she was born in Lebanon. She spent 11 years in Kuwait and then they came over here and then she spent a year in Canada. And then they got their green cards. And so, like, they came over, they did the whole thing right, and so they're here. Yep. But, yeah, what I will tell you is that if you've not spent time outside the country with the people who live outside the country, you really should.
Yeah.
The view that you have of the rest of the world and the view you have of America is a little different when you start hanging out with people from other countries in their country and you start talking about what they see over here. It is very interesting to do.
Oh, I believe it. My favorite thing to do is watch the guys. I'm too busy to do it, but I watch the young guys that travel the world and they make the vlogs or whatever. Yeah, I love that shit because man, it's hard for me to. Like, you have a wife that's from there, so if you want to go to Kuwait or Lebanon, it's like home for her. You know what I mean? Like me and Amy, if we want to go over there, it's a 23-hour flight to figure out what the fuck we're going to do when we get there and shit. So it's easier for me to just watch the travel vlog, and I feel like I've gone there, right? But you're right. There is I watched a guy the other day who went to Iran. He's like, dude, everybody here loves America. I'm celebrated like a hero here. He goes, dude, I thought they were going to fucking kill me the second I put my feet on the ground here, you know? And it's just... You do get a different perspective. You also probably come back appreciating the shit out of this place too.
You definitely start appreciating different things. Like you the things you take for granted, you don't take for granted nearly as much. But it is nice to see a lot of the stuff. But then you get here and you're like, there's a lot of like, we're not nearly as free as we think we are. Yeah. Like it is, we need to take some of our freedoms back. But you know, it is an interesting thing to see the rest of the world. And that's what I'm excited about going to Peru because I can't wait to see because we're gonna be at Machu Picchu and the whole deal. So it's gonna be fun to kind of see that.
Yeah,
thing.
I want to go, man. That'd be perfect timing too.
Yeah, well, let's go. Yeah. Like it'll be awesome. Like I want to make a big I want to be on social media. I want people to see this because there's a lot of people in this country that if they just went down and did some psychedelics, it would get rid of a lot of their problems. Yeah. Like people are like, well, I'm not a veteran. I didn't get shot at. Yeah, but you know what? Like the number one group in this country that has the highest PTSD are first responders.
Yeah.
Like, because
that job's way worse than the military.
Oh my God.
No offense to the military, but like military, you may get a job working in the kitchen or mowing lawns. Like every cop's seeing something fucked up.
Every day. Who fishes the 4-year-olds out of swimming pools?
At least once a week, they're seeing a fucked up traffic accident, murder, suicide, no matter where they're at in the fucking world.
Yeah, so you got all those guys. Job. And then
they should be paid $250,000 a year. Senators should make $60,000 a year, and police officers should make $250,000
I agree.
a year. They have that fucking backwards.
Yeah. Well, here's the other fun thing. What is the hardest job in the United States? This is a personal opinion, but the hardest job in the United States, in my opinion, is stay-at-home mom, because she's got to deal with dad, she's got to deal with the kids, she's got to deal with everything, and she's now in charge of everything. And guess what? Guess who sits and just worries about the kids and worries about the finances? It's the women. Yeah. And so, like, one of the things that we need to start recognizing is that, hey, we need to start fixing our women. Like, you want to talk about the reason, like, people are like, vaccines are terrible, and yes, vaccines are terrible, but if we look at the poisons that are in our 25-year-old girls,
birth control, fucking all the
shit. And we're not detoxing this out. We're not filling them with nutrients. We're not fixing their emotional problems. Then they get pregnant and they have babies, and we're wondering why our babies are so unhealthy. Because we're not spending enough time taking care of our women emotionally and chemically. If we would spend more time doing that, we would have a much healthier, much better nation, and our marriages would be so much better. This is my favorite thing about what I get to do. So, like, people will come in and I work with couples, and I always give discounts if I can work with couples because it just works so much better. Right. But you get these couples who come in and they're just normal people, right? And they come in and they will literally sit and they'll kind of lean away from each other. About 10 weeks into working with them, they'll come in, they'll pull the chairs closer together, they'll sit, they'll lean towards each other, and they'll hold hands. And what's happened is that we fixed the woman. So her anxiety's down, her energy's up, her sex drive's back up, and her orgasm function is through the fucking roof. And now all of a sudden they're having sex twice a week. Well, once the guy's getting laid twice a week, he's like, I'll do anything for you. Yep. I'm calm. I'm loving. I feel loved. Let me figure out how I can make you feel loved. Yep. And your marriage is just right back together. 100%. And you can see it in the kids. When the parents are like in love, yep. You can see it in the kids. You have better kids every time you do that. And so this is why I've just got this big soapbox about we've got to start taking better care of our women. On that, you talk about hormone therapy for women, tens of thousands of women die every year from urinary tract infections.
Damn.
Well, because you be dying, going through and dying in the hospital, very expensive. Fixing it, one of the number one things that fixes urinary tract infections in women is hormone therapy. Because the vaginal volt, that the bacteria and the flora that's in there is controlled by their hormones. So if you get their estrogen levels back up, they're going to be fine. And here's the number one thing. Testosterone naturally converts into estrogen. So if you give her enough testosterone, get her between 80 and 250, and that'll convert over to estrogen. Hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness goes away, sex drive comes back, orgasm function comes back, mental clarity comes back, bone density comes back. Everything starts coming back in these women. And all of a sudden they're great.
And it's funny because, this traditional thing is, women that take testosterone grow a penis or whatever the hell, right? Like, we've all heard that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, yeah, probably if you're doing as much as a man, but like you said, 80 to 200 versus a man, 800 to 1200, right? And Amy's on a low dosage, and she's like, it makes a huge difference.
Oh, massive.
You know what I mean? In energy levels and everything else, And you're right, we do have to fix women. Unpopular, but, facts over feelings opinion here is that, people say all the time, God made man, then he made woman, created equal. It doesn't fucking say that. Sorry. It says he took a rib from Adam, which is, at that time, you think the rib covered the most important part. If you fight somebody, a man, get punched in the stomach, the gut, that rib would have wrapped in there and covered your stomach, your gut, all that stuff. So it was a massive amount of protection that we gave up to create Eve. So we took the protective part of us, the most protective part of us, to create a helper. God says, and then he created man a helper. He doesn't say partner. He doesn't say equal. Doesn't say homeboy, friend. Yeah. He says helper, which probably is aromatic for slave. And I'm just, now, hear me out. You think, this misogynist motherfucker. But hear me out, okay? Hear me out, ladies. You're playing an artificial role going into the workplace. You're playing an artificial role going and trying to get the boss babe careers. And look, I'm not shitting on you guys, but God created you to be our helper. Now, what does that mean? The guy, Adam, he's got to go out, pick fruits, kill deer, whatever the fuck he's got to do to feed the family. Wife prepares the meals, takes care of the kids, while that Adam can be trusted to go miles away, days away, weeks away at a time to go hunt for food. He's got a helper that he can rely on, a partner that's there to take care in the partnership that they've got there. Now they've trusted women equality and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't know, a lot of shit's gone downhill since we let y'all start voting for things. And the reason why I say that is because women are very empathetic, right? Like when it comes to my kids, I'll get on them. God damn it, Colton, don't do this, blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't have been so hard on him. You're right, but the reason why he'll listen next time is because I was so hard on him now. Single mothers raise serial killers, y'all.
Yes.
And that is a fact. There's been a study. It's been going around viral for the last 3 weeks. Best case scenario, these kids were studied for 25 years. At the end of the study, it was just released. The best chances for the kids to be successful, original mom and dad, still married. Second best case, the dad raised them. Mm-hmm. Worst case, mom raises them, right? Without fail. The most criminals, drug addict, addicted, problematic, mom raises them. It's not moms are bad people. You guys are just too loving. You're just too nice. That's why God created us to be the dicks in this thing, right? Like literally and physically to come in and be the authority. Mom gets to play, I love all my children. I get to play, take the fucking trash out and, go do your job or whatever the case. Hey, I know it's 110 degrees outside, but y'all got to crank up lawnmowers today. That's my job as the man. Mom would never make them do that. No. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's hot. You shouldn't.
Yeah, and make them Kool-Aid after they're done. No. You're 12. You're going to drink a beer like a fucking man. But anyway, just kidding. Right? People are going to take that shit too serious, right? But what I'm saying is we've got this whole relationship backwards. And then on top of that, the relationship they have with us, the polarity is reversed there because it shouldn't work that way. Then the hormone polarity that they have in their bodies reversed because, like you said in the beginning of this show, they control us.
Yes. We do everything we can for them.
So if they get everything backwards from how it's supposed to be in the woman, then they'll fucking ultimately control us.
That's exactly right.
What I mean?
Well, and here's the thing. Like, people are like, well, if you don't think we're equal, then you don't think we have value. That is not in any way what anybody's saying.
Yeah.
Like, what's more important, your fork or your spoon? Well, it depends. If you're eating soup, that spoon's pretty important.
Absolutely.
If you're eating steak, that fork is pretty important.
Absolutely.
I didn't say that you guys didn't have value. You guys, like I said, the hardest job in the world that I can think of is having to stay home with children.
Yeah.
Like the
I
idea
agree
that
with that job doesn't end.
No, never.
There's not a set rule. There's not
No.
an SOP. There's not a quarterly dividend.
If
There's
my
none of that
patients
shit.
call me at 2 a.m., I'm pissed.
Yeah.
If the kid comes
Or you
down,
just don't fucking answer.
right. I don't have to. But if the kid comes down and sick and goes, Mom, I need this.
Yeah.
Mom's got to get her ass up. Like
absolutely.
that's, so it is, I'm not trying to, no one's trying to downplay how important women are. It's just,
We're not trying to downplay the most important people on the planet. That's, we're just trying to direct us to work better.
right.
You know?
It's like here at the end of the day, it's, we're not equal. There's things we need to do as men and there's things women need to do as women.
And we proved that with transgenders in sports, by the way.
Yeah, I think
there's a lot of fucking difference.
Yeah, I think that question's been answered.
Now, if they let men compete in the fucking homemaking contest, we'd lose our ass there too.
Oh my
You know what I'm
God.
saying? Like because there's different skill sets. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there are certain. I was watching this deal the other day, and it said that there are two industries which are like 89 to 90. One of them's 99% white women. Okay, therapists, psychology or whatever, psychological therapists was like 88% fucking white people or white women.
Yeah.
And then no, I'm sorry. Dental hygienists and assistants were a high, like 88% white ladies.
Yeah.
And then like 98% white women were like, it was some kind of therapy. They were therapists, but
Yeah.
it was Joe Rogan talking about, now that I think about it, like an overwhelming amount of them. But obviously they're good at that. So that's what they go into.
Yeah.
That's like you don't see a lot of male nurses. They happen. There's some guys that
Yeah.
are really good at that shit, but for the most part, they're not.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of male dental hygienists. I've never seen one in my entire life.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's certain things we're good at, certain things that in jobs and things. But if you think about all of that, they're trying to get us all out of harmony so we don't work together. They try to get us out of harmony.
Yes.
They say white versus black, Jew
Yep.
versus Muslim, Mexican versus American, Canadian versus American, man versus woman, Christian versus Muslim. They try to do all these different, gay versus straight. They try to do all these things to subvert us because the second we work in harmony, we won't need them anymore.
That's the thing. The more chaos they can sow,
Yeah.
the more fear they can put in people.
Chaos needs power.
That's
Lack of
right.
chaos.
It's like, oh, look at this horrible thing over there, but don't worry, me, the government, I'll help you take care of it. Like, didn't you start that crazy thing over there? Well, we did, but so you're creating problems to then step in and be the savior.
You're
of.
asking too many questions, man.
I know. Look at me over here, man. Asking all the critical thinking questions.
Well, man, I'm going to put your information in the caption here to where they can go to your website and sign up for your stuff if they want to, you know, get there. This is who I trust, and I am a fucking very skeptical person, just like I mentioned in this. And I want to put this together for you guys. So we talk a bunch of conspiracy theory with somebody smarter than me, so you see that I'm not just absolute batshit crazy. There's other people that think this way, and smart people like Matt that got me to think in this way. But also, we're being lied to, and everything we're doing that's pushed on us by the masses is backwards. And if you want to unravel that and get your shit working the right way, then, whether it's Matt or anybody, get your blood tested, get your testosterone, male and female, tested, figure out go get an EKG on your heart. Don't just trust your smartwatch and shit like that. Apple ain't invented nothing worth a fucking 10, 15 years now, right? Like, they're just maintaining the status quo. Go get a real doctor. Go get your health in order, because here's what I've learned from Matt and what I've seen in my own life, especially when I broke my neck. At that last minute when you could lose everything, the only thing you give a fuck about is your health.
Yep.
You're not going, when I broke my neck, I wasn't like, oh, my checking account. You know, oh my God, how's Monaco going to function without me there in the office? Like, no, the only thing I care about is like, don't die, motherfucker. What have I done my entire life that can keep me alive for this moment? And you know what, guys? Because I have good people in my life like Matt, and have, you know, trained in the gym and all that stuff. When I went into that life-threatening, I should be a paraplegic right now, but the fact that I did preventative stuff and took care of my health ahead of time saved my fucking ass. Because if I'd have had some brittle-ass bones and a skinny body, my shit would have broken. I would have never, they told me in the hospital, you ain't walking home, you'll never walk again. And I walked out of there and they were like, what the fuck? And it was you and Dr. Sammy were like, dude, it's clearly because you work out. Because if you wouldn't have had some kind of cushion around that, then it'd have been over with. So I can say firsthand that I'm very glad that I was preventative in the things that I was doing, because, you know, I'm sure I would function, but it would suck a lot more right now being in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So, well, Matt, appreciate you coming on, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
That was a hell of a conversation.
It is. It was fun.
Didn't I do one of your podcasts, but you like fucking deleted it or something on accident?
So what happened was that the board fried. Like, yeah, what happened was like halfway through the board fried, and so like my video board fried. So none of it kept. I was so pissed. I was so pissed.
I've been waiting for that release for a long time, and I'm like, wait, man, maybe it got deleted or something. So okay, well there we go.
I apologize for that. That would have been great.
This one made it, so it's just gonna officially air. They can't keep us off the air together forever. So
awesome.
Appreciate it, man.